Greetings, loved ones. Today we're going to talk about how you can leave a violent relationship without dying. Abusers are more dangerous than any other type of attacker, especially when a survivor leaves. Help us get these messages out. Subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit that like button and share these messages with others because you never know, just by doing so you could save a life. I would like to share with you today a great article from domesticshelters.org. As a threat advisor by profession, Spencer Corson's job is to assess the level of danger individuals are in when it appears someone is out to get them. He's helped protect celebrities whose stalkers are strangers who believe they form some sort of connection with that celebrity. Corson says one stalker was under the impression he was receiving secret messages from a celebrity through the star's TV appearances. Another was a limo driver who felt he shared more than just a ride home with his famous passenger. These otherwise ordinary people turned would-be assailants might sound like loose cannons to you, but in Corson's opinion, another group is a far greater threat: domestic partner abusers. Corson says in intimate partner violence, the victim and abuser, they know each other. With that level of intimacy, the abuser knows the pressure points, the ways to manipulate the victim emotionally, and the triggers that set them off. And he adds, in most cases, the abuser has already expressed and displayed violence and is ready to escalate it. And the most common time to do so is when the survivor decides to leave. When a public figure is attacked, it most often occurs at the end of an event, says Corson, citing the assassination attempt of President Reagan as he was headed to his car after a Washington, D.C. speaking engagement in 1981. This is an example that he has. Corson says that attackers have this ideation that they can do something, then actually breach all the security measures, and their window of opportunity gets smaller and smaller as you come to the end of the event. At the end is almost when they have to attack because of the time constraints. They're losing control. That's an interesting parallel to abusers. The abuser needs to escalate to a higher level to reclaim the control, and that's where you see the greatest levels of homicide. Beyond helping to protect public figures and other celebrities, Corson lends his time to Becky's Fund, a Washington, D.C.-based domestic violence advocacy and prevention organization. He's a security consultant for them. He advises them on strategies that survivors can use when they're ready to leave their abuser. The only condition, says Corson, is that they must be ready to leave permanently. He says, if I get brought in, losing is not an option. In other words, says Corson, the survivor can't be leaving to try and get the abuser's attention in hopes that he or she might be apologetic and end their behavior. He explains, we are putting this relationship in the past. And he also knows, he says, it's often easier said than done. Becky's Fund executive director, Becky Lee, agrees. She says, the abuse will be so much worse if she has to go back. Once someone leaves, they need to think about leaving permanently, because typically the abuser will be more manipulative and will try to make things more unbearable for the victim. A significant barrier to these survivors leaving is the avoidance of change, says Corson. So many of these victims have been restricted from financial and social independence. We tell them their future is brighter than their present darkness. They deserve better. And I agree, they do. As we have discussed in previous episodes, there are things for you to do before you go. Survivors should always consider a safety plan before leaving their abuser. And safety planning is important for all survivors, regardless of the type of abuse they're experiencing. In addition, Corsi and Becky's Fund Executive Director Becky Lee add that the following points are instrumental in helping to prevent a lethal outcome before a survivor walks out the door. Only you, the survivor, knows when the best time is to leave. Lee says that a lot of the struggle for survivors comes from this public perception that everyone else knows best. While others in the survivor support circle may pointedly ask, well, why don't you just leave now? A survivor should always trust his or her gut instinct when it comes to timing. So find an advocate you can trust. Both Lee and Corson agree that survivors should not attempt to leave on their own. Call a domestic violence hotline or a shelter in your area and talk options. Even if you're not ready to go, you can begin making a plan for security someday. So you need to plan for permanent change. When you're safety planning, you may want to make sure that you can covertly assemble all the items you need in order to never have to return to your abuser again. This will lower your risk of being harmed or killed. This can include everything from important paperwork to necessary medications. And yesterday we had a list of these things. If you didn't see the video yesterday, go back and look at it. If you're afraid of packing a bunch of items at once, it might arouse suspicion to your abuser. Corson recommends taking 1 or 2 items with you at a time. Take them to work or to a trusted friend or a family member's house. You can stick them in your pocketbook, in a diaper bag, or put them in your lunch pail. Create emergency words and signals. This could be a secret code or message that you send to friends or family when you're in danger and need help, but you don't want to cause your abuser to notice that you're doing it. It's kind of like a secret word, like, you can say, if you hear me say the word giraffe, that means I need help now. Get me help. A signal also could be like leaving the curtain up in the front window of your house. This could signal to a neighbor that you need to call the police now. You can leave a violent relationship. If you can plan ahead, then do so. If you can't and you're endangered, call 911 and bring all of your help to you. This information is not to scare you. It is to honestly teach you how you can safely leave a very dangerous situation. And for everybody, I want you to listen. With 1 in 3 women experiencing domestic violence worldwide, the question is not if you will encounter a victim of violence. The question before God is, what will you do when you do encounter them? You could be that person who saves a life. You're called. We are all called to be champions for justice. Those who suffer violence need to know that those who love them and those who don't even know them will step out and reach out to them to give them the help and the courage they need to leave before it's too late. Help us get these messages out so that people who aren't victims can recognize victims and know how to help them, and for people who are victims that they can know how to get help. Please subscribe to our channel, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit the like button, and please share these messages with others, because you never know, just by doing so you could save a life. If you're a victim of violence, listen to me now. I really want you to know this, because you've been told everything opposite of this. The truth is, you are valued. You are loved. You are intelligent, and you are beautiful. And God doesn't want you to suffer violence. He wants you to live free from violence in peace and tranquility. And there is a way out. It's not your fault. Abuse is not love. If someone says they love you and then they abuse you, they're lying and they will not change. If you're a victim of violence, reach out to someone. If you find yourself in a dangerous situation, dial 911. On Monday, we're going to talk more about the dangers of leaving. Until then, God bless you.